Welcome to Trending Unpacked, the podcast where we make sense of the stories everyone's talking about. And today, we're delving into something truly special, I think. It's a beloved Disney classic getting a fresh and maybe even freakier twist.
Ooh, intriguing already.
Right. You know those films that just kind of stick with you? The ones that become a real touchstone for a generation?
Absolutely.
Well, get ready because Disney has officially announced Freakier Friday. It's pitched as a direct continuation, slated for 2025.
Okay.
And the excitement, the buzz around it is just absolutely electric.
You can really feel it online, can't you?
Totally.
Yeah.
And we're talking about more than just a sequel here. It feels like a proper revival of a fan favorite, one that really, it shaped the landscape for a lot of us.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to, explore its pretty rich legacy, try and uncover everything we know so far about this new film, and also sort of dissect the really vibrant conversations already happening online about it.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
We'll look at the cultural significance, the potential. It feels like a really exciting development. So yeah, let's get into it.
It's definitely an announcement that triggered, I think, a collective wave of just pure nostalgic joy, but also a whole flurry of really fascinating speculation, wouldn't you say?
Oh, completely.
What's particularly compelling here, for me anyway, is Disney's strategic move. They're tapping into such a potent vein of nostalgia, but at the same time, they seem to be pushing for some kind of innovation. It's not just a rehash.
Right. It's a balance.
Exactly. So this isn't merely a movie release. For a lot of people, it feels like a significant cultural moment, especially for those who grew up with the earlier versions, hold them quite dear. #tag background in case breakdown.
Absolutely. And I think to really appreciate where we might be headed with Freakier Friday, it's kind of crucial to understand where this whole delightful concept started. The legacy of Freaky Friday is, it's pretty remarkable, really. It all starts, foundationally, with a children's novel, right? Mary Rodgers' 1972 book.
That's precisely right. And Mary Rodgers' novel, it wasn't just, a simple kid's story. It really laid the essential groundwork for every single adaptation that followed.
It set the template.
It did. Its initial impact was pretty profound because it took a familiar fantasy trope, the body swap, which has been around in various forms, and injected it directly into one of the most relatable relationships, but also one of the most complex and often emotionally charged ones, the mother-daughter dynamic, especially a teenage daughter.
That specific dynamic.
Yeah. The core premise, this magical switch forcing them to literally live in each other's shoes, that was quite revolutionary for its time, I think, and how sharply it explored those generational divides. It offered this unique, humorous, but also deeply insightful lens to view the challenges of adolescence, the teenage angst, and also the often misunderstood pressures of being a parent.
Yeah, seeing both sides.
Exactly. So that narrative structure, it effectively set this really compelling template for fostering understanding, empathy, showing that common ground could be found even when the differences seem huge.
And from that one book, this whole cinematic thing started to blossom. We've seen quite a few interpretations over the years, haven't we? Each one building on Rodgers' original idea. The first movie outing was 1976, starring a very young Jodie Foster as the daughter.
That's the one. Yeah, a classic in its own right.
Right. That marked its first jump to the big screen, kind of cemented its place in pop culture, showed it had broad appeal. Then, much later, almost 2 decades, 1995, there was a TV movie.
Yeah, there was. Kind of another stepping stone. Kept the idea alive.
Exactly. Another step. But I think for a huge number of people, especially people our age who came of age in the early 2000s, the version that truly resonated, the one that became just absolutely iconic, was 2003 with that incredible duo, Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan.
Oh, absolutely. The 2003 film, it really stands as the kind of undisputed heavyweight champion of all the Freaky Friday adaptations, no question. Just look at its commercial success alone. That speaks volumes. It grossed over $160 million worldwide.
Wow. That's huge for a family comedy back then.
It really was. It wasn't just impressive. It was a genuinely significant achievement. And that financial success, it just powerfully underscores how broad its appeal was, how skillfully it managed to capture the cultural zeitgeist of that era. It just resonated with audiences across different demographics.
It certainly made a huge splash at the box office, yeah. But beyond just the money, those impressive numbers, what do you think elevated the 2003 version from just being a successful film to becoming such a memorable, significant part of pop culture. For a whole generation, really. It did become a cultural touchstone.
Yeah, it really did. And what's truly intriguing, I think, is that its success wasn't solely about the clever premise or even just the box office numbers. It was profoundly rooted in the extraordinary star power, yes, but more crucially, the absolutely dynamic chemistry between Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan.
That chemistry was electric.
It really was. Their performances weren't just, good. They elevated the entire film massively. You had Jamie Lee Curtis with her, seasoned comedic timing, just perfectly embodying this frustrated, rebellious teenager trapped in her mom's body, just navigating high school teenage angst with hilarious precision. And then Lindsay Lohan, who was this rising star then, she brilliantly captured the sort of uptight, bewildered parent suddenly facing the chaos of youth, portraying that struggle with adult stuff through a teen lens.
They really sold it. You believe they'd swapped.
Totally. They didn't just play the roles. They genuinely felt like they became each other. Their ability to so convincingly portray the essence of both mother and daughter, swapping not just bodies, but personalities, perspectives. It felt genuinely believable, but also consistently hilarious.
Yeah.
And that masterful execution, it effectively captured the universal heart of generational conflict, but with unparalleled wit and warmth. It wasn't just physical comedy. It was deeply resonant emotionally. It connected.
That dynamic really was the engine of the whole thing, wasn't it? And at its core, the 2003 version, it dug into some incredibly rich themes. The mother-daughter body swap specifically, that relationship seems like such uniquely fertile ground for this kind of story.
It absolutely is. The mother-daughter relationship, it has this unique blend, doesn't it? Unconditional love, but also inherent conflict, sometimes intense conflict. And these constantly evolving dynamics. It's arguably one of the most compelling relationships, just ripe for a body swap narrative.
Yeah, there's so much built-in tension and potential for misunderstanding.
Exactly. There's an innate tension there, a natural otherness that exists between generations, even in the closest families, that the body swap just magnificently exploits for comedy and drama. The film brilliantly explored those deep-seated misunderstandings, the often wildly different perspectives.
Yeah.
The teenager desperate for independence, the parent trying to control but also protect. It humorously, but also sharply, satirized both sides. The parents' perceived rigidness, the teens' perceived rebelliousness. It exposed the vulnerabilities, the fears, the strengths on both sides of that divide. It showed that underneath it all, both were just grappling with their own stuff, their own identities and challenges.
So when we talk about the film's deeper message then, what does this really mean for us, the audience? How did it so effectively get across that powerful message of literally walking a mile in someone else's shoes, which ultimately leads to that genuine mutual understanding, that respect?
Yeah. Well, from a broader view, the film's enduring strength was making that metaphorical journey completely literal, wasn't it? By forcing Anna and Tess to inhabit each other's vastly different lives, the film didn't just generate immediate laugh-out-loud comedy. It fostered profound, genuine empathy. You couldn't help but feel it.
Right. You saw their struggles firsthand.
Exactly. Imagine the sheer chaos, the immediate learning curve. Anna suddenly in Tess's body having to deal with adult responsibilities, a career, her mom's fiancé, adult social stuff.
Yeah, mortgages and PTA meetings.
Right. She experienced firsthand the daily juggle, the stresses her mom endured. And conversely, Tess, trapped in Anna's teenage body, had to navigate the minefield of high school, teenage relationships, the tension, the passion for music, peer pressure.
All the drama.
All the drama. So this temporary but intensely immersive role reversal allowed for a narrative that was both deeply funny and profoundly insightful. It offered a sharp look at personal identity, societal expectations, the distinct challenges each generation faces. It masterfully showed that often what looks like defiance is maybe a need for autonomy, and what seems like control is often just born out of love and concern. Both characters grew hugely, learning to value and respect the other's journey. #WhatWeKnowAboutFreakier Friday.
That really is a compelling breakdown of why that 2003 version hit so hard for so many people. And now, the beloved classic is getting this fresh chapter. The news that Disney officially confirmed Freakier Friday, and yeah, let's remember it's still a working title for 2025, that sent these palpable waves of excitement through the fan base. This isn't just a rumor anymore. This is actually happening.
It absolutely is. And of course, the single most anticipated piece of news, the detail everyone was holding their breath for, is that Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan are reportedly set to reprise their iconic roles.
That's the key, isn't it?
It really is. This signals it's not just a generic reboot. It's a direct continuation of their story. which immediately helps with some of that skepticism people often have about remakes. And what's truly exciting is thinking about the shift in their characters' roles now.
Yeah.
They're presumably playing mothers themselves, maybe even grandmothers.
Oh, wow.
This immediately sparks all these fascinating questions, right? How might their own incredible experience, that initial body swap, how might that have influenced their lives, their parenting styles, their perspectives?
That's a really interesting layer.
What new wisdom might they have? Or maybe what new baggage might they carry from having literally walked in each other's shoes all those years ago? Imagine living through that. How would it fundamentally change how you raise your own kids or grandkids? It adds this whole new layer of dramatic and comedic potential.
That's such a brilliant point. Their past swap isn't just backstory. It could be a major plot driver. And this whole project, it definitely fits neatly into Disney's broader strategy, doesn't it? This pattern of revisiting successful IPs.
Absolutely. When you step back, look at the bigger picture, Disney has a clear, well-established, and honestly highly successful reboot and remake strategy. We've seen it play out with huge success in live-action versions of their animated classics, The Little Mermaid, The Lion King, you name it.
Billions of dollars.
Right. And this calculated approach, it directly appeals to a massive and highly engaged demographic, particularly millennials who grew up with the original films, hold them dear. Disney is banking heavily on that powerful emotional connection, that desire to revisit a cherished, comforting part of their past.
Yeah, nostalgia sells.
It's an incredibly powerful lever. Nostalgia is a known quantity, a reliable commodity. It draws audiences back. It rekindles that emotional investment without starting totally from scratch.
But it can't just be about nostalgia, surely. How does Disney plan to attract a whole new generation like Gen Z who might not have that same direct emotional tie to the 2003 film, while also keeping that super loyal original fan base happy? Seems like a really tricky balancing act.
That's the key question, isn't it? And it really highlights the challenge. The overall goal, you have to assume, is to capture fresh eyes. They'll need updated themes, contemporary sensibilities, maybe compelling new characters, ensuring the story feels relevant to young people today.
Right, make it feel like now.
Exactly. While the core concept, empathy through role reversal, that's timeless, but the specific challenges, the social landscape, technology for teenagers today, vastly different from 2003. Think about social media, online pressures, different family structures, new ways of communicating.
Oh yeah, totally different world.
Freakier Friday will undoubtedly have to weave in elements that resonate with Gen Z's experiences, make it feel current, urgent, funny for them, all without alienating the original audience who are coming back for the familiar faces and the core idea. It's about a careful, thoughtful evolution, not just repeating the past.
And talking about evolution, that title, Freakier Friday, it really implies an escalation, doesn't it? A step up. What could Freakier actually mean for the plot? Beyond the original mother-daughter swap, what are the fan theories saying? What are the hints?
This is where the speculation gets really fun, and why the title is kind of brilliant marketing. The freakier bit powerfully suggests a big expansion of the body swap dynamic. Fan theories, early hints from sources. They strongly point towards a plot maybe extending to multiple swaps. Across different generations, maybe. Or even within different family units.
Whoa.
Just imagine the comedic and dramatic potential, like a grandmother swapping bodies with her super tech-savvy granddaughter.
Oh my.
Or a mother suddenly finding herself in the body of her, say, rebellious teenage son. The chaos would just be amplified like tenfold.
Right. And how would modern tech play into that? Smartphones, TikTok?
Exactly. Think about the complexities. A grandma trying to navigate a viral challenge, or a tech-obsessed teen suddenly having to manage household budgets, a career, adult relationships. The opportunities for both massive laughs and real learning moments are just boundless. And furthermore, this freakier idea, it really opens the door wide to totally new character introductions, beyond just mothers and daughters. We could easily see fathers, sons, aunts, uncles, maybe other diverse family members getting pulled into the body swap chaos.
Expanding the scope.
Significantly. It expands the narrative possibilities hugely. It allows for a much broader look at different contemporary family structures, modern relationship challenges, broader generational divides that go beyond just mother-daughter.
Right.
It could give us a far more comprehensive, nuanced, and timely look at the modern family, warts and all.
That definitely sounds freakier. What about this idea of bigger stakes in today's world? What could that realistically mean for the story? How would a body swap in, say, 2025 feel more intense than in 2003?
Yeah.
Bigger stakes.
When we talk about that in a modern context, we're likely looking at how today's world, hyper-connected, fast-paced, the relentless demands of careers, or even the pervasive, often unforgiving influence of social media could dramatically amplify both the comedy and the emotional lessons.
Okay, how so?
Well, imagine a character mid-high-stakes job interview or a teenager desperately trying to maintain their carefully crafted online persona, and poof, body swap happens.
Oh, no.
Right? The potential for immediate public embarrassment, career-ending slip-ups, viral social media meltdowns, it's exponentially greater now than it was 20 years ago. The film could brilliantly use these very contemporary elements to escalate the humor, create truly cringeworthy but hilarious situations, and raise the emotional stakes considerably, making that eventual journey to understanding even more profound, more challenging, and way more relevant for today's audience. The world's just more exposed now. A swap is a much more public, potentially catastrophic event. Hashtag internet buzz and cultural interpretation.
All these possibilities definitely explain why there's such a vibrant online community just dissecting every single tiny piece of news about Freakier Friday. The internet is absolutely buzzing with theories, isn't it? It's like this huge collective brainstorm.
It truly is. The digital landscape is just teeming with enthusiastic fans speculating. Who's going to swap this time? People are asking, is it going to be a Freaky Friday for the whole family? Will Anna and Tess now swap with their own kids, adding this whole meta layer?
That would be wild.
Wouldn't it? And there's just this palpable sense of euphoria about Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan coming back. Their enduring appeal is undeniable. It's a testament to their original performances. Fans are genuinely thrilled, almost giddy, seeing them reunite in these roles. It says so much about the lasting impact of that 2003 film.
I see the memes, the fan art.
Endless discussions, speculating on every little detail.
But, with any beloved classic getting an update or a sequel, there's always that tightrope walk, right? We see this massive wave of social media nostalgia, which is great, but then there's also the counterargument, often quite vocal. The debates about whether reboots and sequels risk ruining the legacy of the original. How do studios even navigate that pressure?
That is such a crucial tension. It's at the heart of so many of these discussions around reboots and legacy sequels. You have this powerful wave of nostalgia, fans reliving moments, sharing memes, quoting lines, expressing real excitement. It shows deep emotional investment. People cherish these films. They're part of their history.
Part of their growing up.
Exactly. But the ruining the legacy debate, it's a completely legitimate and understandable concern. The core of that anxiety is the fear that a new version might not just fail to live up to cherished memories, but, maybe worse, could actively alter or somehow diminish the perception of the beloved original.
Tarnish it, almost.
Yeah. So studios walk this incredibly fine line. They're constantly trying to honor the past, pay homage to what made the original special, while also innovating, introducing fresh elements for the future. It's a delicate, high-stakes balancing act. Give audiences what they remember, but also give them something new and compelling that justifies its existence.
That balance really seems to define success or failure in these cases, doesn't it? So how do these different generational perspectives play out with Freaky Friday? Like, how do millennials view the original compared to how Gen Z might encounter Freakier Friday? It's not the same movie for everyone coming into it.
You're absolutely right. Context is everything here. For millennials, that 2003 film holds a truly unique, special place. Many saw it during their formative teen years. For them, it's not just a movie. It's a significant part of their cultural upbringing. It shaped their view of family comedies, body swaps, maybe even their idea of a cool mom. It's a real touchstone.
Embedded in their youth.
Exactly. For Gen Z, though, the experience could be totally different. Will Freakier Friday be their first intro to the story? Or will they see it first, maybe think, oh, this is based on something, and then go back and watch the 2003 version through that legacy lens?
Yeah, interesting either way.
And Disney's explicit goal, which is very smart, is to appeal effectively to both demographics. They're strategically using that powerful nostalgia to pull in the older, established audience, while meticulously crafting new elements, modern humor, current themes, relatable new characters to captivate the younger crowd. This bridging strategy is absolutely crucial for marketing, for box office, for potential long-term success. They're hoping to create a shared generational experience, maybe. A kind of cultural handover. Hashtag analysis and takeaway.
It's clear there's a lot riding on this film, a lot of cultural dynamics swirling around it. But let's step back for a second from this specific movie. What is it about body swap stories in general? Not just Freaky Friday, but the whole trope. Why do they resonate so much? Time and time again, across different cultures, different generations.
It's fascinating, isn't it? What's truly captivating, I think, is how body swap comedies offer this uniquely safe and almost always humorous way to explore really deep personal questions. Questions of identity, internal struggles, the journey of self-discovery. It literally forces characters and us, the audience, to confront who they are versus who they pretend to be or who they mistakenly think they are.
Yeah, it strips away the surface.
It does. It's like a powerful comedic metaphor for intense self-reflection. And the core lesson, undeniably, is that invaluable experience of literally walking in another's shoes. This trope just powerfully highlights the fundamental importance of understanding different perspectives, especially within families, but also more broadly, societal roles, workplaces, friendships. It builds empathy by making that abstract idea of understanding someone else's life totally concrete and immediate. You have to experience it. And beyond that, these stories often brilliantly use the comedy as a subtle but potent form of social commentary. Through the chaos of role reversal, they can playfully yet insightfully comment on changing societal expectations, gender roles, generational differences, the challenges of different life stages.
Like holding up a funhouse mirror to society.
Kind of. Imagine, like, a politician swapping with a regular citizen, or a CEO with someone on the shop floor. The potential for sharp satire is huge. And then there's just the inherent universal comedy, the sheer funniness of misplaced identities, awkwardly navigating unfamiliar situations, and the inevitable, delightful chaos that always happens with unexpected role reversals. It's a narrative formula that just consistently delivers both big laughs and usually a genuinely heartfelt message.
So with all that potential and the built-in popularity of the idea, what do you think Disney really stands to gain with Freakier Friday? And conversely, what are the big inherent risks they're definitely taking on with this?
Disney's potential gains are pretty substantial, multifaceted. They're tapping into a guaranteed, highly engaged, deeply nostalgic audience already invested in the story and characters. That's huge.
A built-in audience.
Exactly. A successful film could mean new merchandise, maybe franchise expansion, extending the life of a valuable IP for years. Plus, it's a big chance for Disney to show they can successfully modernize beloved classics, evolve with their audience without losing that magic touch.
Okay, but the risks.
The inherent risks are equally considerable. The biggest, maybe, is backlash from purist fans. If the new film deviates too much, or fails to deliver on the freakier promise, or just falls short of sky-high expectations.
The internet can be unforgiving.
Understatement. There's also the challenge of genuinely capturing new, younger audiences without accidentally alienating the older fans. The market is increasingly saturated with reboots and legacy sequels. There's a risk of audience fatigue, another reboot. And crucially, there's always that possibility of diluting the impact, the specialness of the cherished 2003 film if Freakier Friday doesn't land perfectly, if it feels forced or unnecessary. It's definitely high reward, but equally high risk for the studio.
So if we broaden out even further then, what does all this anticipation for Freakier Friday tell us about our current cultural moment? What's the bigger picture here about our collective appetite for these nostalgic reboots? Why do we seem to crave them so much right now?
That brings us to a really important observation, I think, about that broader cultural appetite. We are seeing this widespread hunger for familiar stories, for the comfort of established, beloved worlds, especially perhaps in an ever-changing, often uncertain, increasingly complex world. Reboots and legacy sequels tap into that deep desire for escapism, for connection to maybe simpler-seeming times. They offer comforting continuity.
Like comfort food for the soul.
In a way, yeah. But they also provide this unique canvas for contemporary updates, for fresh perspectives. They let these cherished stories evolve with the times. It's like reconnecting with an old friend who now has a brand new, compelling story to share.
That's a nice way to put it.
The challenge for studios, then, is finding that incredibly delicate, almost invisible balance between faithful, respectful homage to what made it special originally and the kind of bold, fresh innovation that genuinely justifies why it needs to exist now. When they hit that balance, it feels like magic. When they miss, it really highlights the risks of trying to recapture lightning in a bottle.
And as we kind of wrap up our exploration of Freakier Friday today, I wanted to leave you, our listener, with maybe a thought-provoking question, something to mull over. As family structures keep evolving, becoming more diverse, sometimes more complex, and as communication gaps maybe widen in our super digital, fast-paced age, could a multi-generational body swap film like Freakier Friday actually offer us a new lens? Comedic one, sure, but maybe a potent one. A lens through which to genuinely bridge those divides and truly see each other, flaws and all, maybe more clearly than ever before.
That's a really interesting thought to end on.
It's definitely fascinating to think about as we eagerly await the 2025 release of Freakier Friday. The excitement is real, and we just can't wait to see how Disney handles all these complex dynamics and brings this beloved story into today's world. Thank you so much for joining us for this exploration into the world of body swaps and enduring classics.
My pleasure. Always fun to talk about this stuff.
Next time on Trending Unpacked, we're shifting gears into the superhero world with Marvel's Fantastic Four. Is the MCU about to reclaim its magic? Or is this another risky reboot? Stay tuned.